This is section 623. We're going to construct a sequence using general information. And so we have to think in terms of the arithmetic sequence, we have to think in terms of the geometric sequence, and then use that given information to construct our sequence. So it says, given a term, an arithmetic sequence, and the common difference, find the explicit formula. So it wants us to find this formula right here. Now the issue is, for us to have the formula, I need to know two pieces of information. I need to know the first term and the common difference. Well, if I look at this, I only have the common difference. But what this tells me is other information. This tells me my n, and then this tells me what my a sub n is, having plugged in n. So I could work backwards, and I can find my original term, or my first term, using that information. So I can say 249 equals my first term plus, and then 37 minus 1 times my common difference. So that's going to be 249 equals a plus 36 times 8. And so now you would enter that into your calculator. That's 288 minus 288. So that gives you negative 39 as your first term. So now I can write my explicit formula because I have my first term and I have my common difference. So it's going to be a sub n equals my first term plus n minus 1 times my common difference. Now we're going to do the same thing, except now we're going to find the geometric sequence. So the geometric sequence is a sub n equals my first term times r to the n minus 1. Well, it tells me my r is negative 5, and then here's my n, and then here is my a sub n. So 25 equals a times r to the n minus 1. So that's going to be negative 5 to the third. That's going to be negative 125. Divide by that. So a is going to equal negative 5. So now I can just plug that back in. So a sub n equals negative 1/5 times r to the n minus 1. Now it does get a little bit more complicated than that. So those were very simple because we were just talking about one. But what if I want to find the arithmetic sequence, right? So I need to find this formula. But the problem here is I don't have any pieces of information other than my n and what a sub n is. So we're going to have to create a system of equations to then find those missing pieces of information. So we have two equations. 1, 2. Remember, we're still looking for d, and we're still looking for my first term. So my first equation is going to be a sub n equals a plus n minus 1 times d. My second equation is going to be a sub n equals my first equation plus n minus 1 times d. Now if you notice in both of these, and I'm going to replace this, so that's going to become 17 and 37. Right, so I just did the subtraction there. But if you notice in both of these, I don't know what my a is and I don't know what my d is. So we're going to use substitution. I'm going to subtract 17d on both sides. And so what ends up happening is I'm going to get 3,362 minus 17d equals a. Now I can plug that in for a into my next equation. So we're going to substitute that in. So I'm going to get 7,362 equals 3,062 minus 17d plus 37d. So this was a. And I just substituted it in from the other equation. So now I need to just solve for d. So solving for d, I can minus 3,062. So that's going to give me 4,000. And then 17d, that's going to give me 20d. Divide both sides by 20. And it seems d equals 200. So now plugging it back in, I can use this equation here, because now I can find what my a is. And so 17 times 200, so that's going to be a plus 34. So subtract 3,400 on both sides. So a equals negative 38. So I have my a, now I have my d, I can construct my formula. A sub n equals my first term plus n minus 1 times d. Next one. Now we're going to do the same thing, except now it's going to be geometric. So my geometric formula, a sub n equals my first term times r to the n minus 1. And so here is my n, here's my a sub n. So for my first one, I can construct it. I'll do the smaller one, why not? So a sub n equals a times r to the n minus 1. And then my next one is going to be a sub n equals a times r to the n minus 1. Now just rewriting this, this is going to be 12 equals a times r, and then this one is just going to be 768 equals a times r to the fourth. Now in one of these, it's going to be easier for us to be able to get a by itself or r by itself. It really doesn't matter. It's probably easier to get a by itself, so I'm going to divide both sides by 12. So we're going to get 12 over r equals a. So now I can plug that in. So 768 equals, now instead of a, it's 12 over r, and that's r to the fourth. One of those r's are going to cancel out. Divide both sides by 12. So 768 divided by 12 is 64. And then cube root both sides. R equals 4. So now I just need to find a. So if I wanted to plug it back into this equation here, 12 over r equals a. So 12 over 4 equals a, so 3 equals a. So now I just need to create my formula. So a sub n equals my first term times r to the n minus 1. So what did we learn today? We learned how to use information to construct our arithmetic and geometric sequences. Now for the geometric sequence, we need to know the first term and we need to know the common ratio. If it was asking for the arithmetic, we need to know the first term and the common difference. And so if you notice, going through those equations, that was the goal the entire time, was trying to figure those values out so I can construct it. This does conclude our lesson. If you have any other questions, please leave them in the comments.